All right, so thanks so much for taking the time to do this, to join me. And my first question for you is tell the audience a little bit about yourself and how you started in the mental health realm.
Oh, gosh, where do we get started? Well, a little bit about me. My favorite things are dogs and chocolate. But about the mental health realm, that kind of happened in a weird circumstantial way. What I like to say to people, and to give you the short version of a very long story, what I like to say to people is that, like, I guess in life, when you don't get what you want, sometimes other doors open for you, and you just have to be adventurous enough to say, okay, let me see, let me try it. And that's essentially what happened. Was a bunch of doors opened and I found myself where I am right now. But I originally thought I wanted to be in the FBI. So it was quite a left-hand turn, but I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be after walking through many, many doors and figuring it out.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, yeah, oftentimes, when there's one career that you think that is the right path, you kind of say, "Oh, wait a minute." So it's everybody goes through that.
Totally.
Yeah. So my next question is tell me a little bit about the work that you do currently. What's the day-to-day like?
So, I'm transitioning a little bit. So I am a licensed mental health counselor and a board certified behavior analyst. And I'm also sorry, those are my dogs in the background. Um, I'm also a professor of psychology. So I do a lot of things. I've been teaching psychology for probably like close to 12 years. I love that, but it's not full time. And then I have a private practice in counseling, and I have a behavior analysis company as well, but I'm slowly fading out of behavior analysis. Well, I should say this, I'm fading out of ABA and that company and transitioning only to private practice, even though I still do behavior analysis in my private practice. It's just, I guess, molded more to a one-on-one talk therapy counseling style of ABA.
Hmm, that's nice. So, tell me a little bit about the methods and approaches that you use when working with patients, because you said that you were transitioning into and out of different practices. So,
Yes. Okay, so applied behavior analysis, that field is dedicated, I would say probably 80-90%, and I'm just making this statistic up, but the majority of the field of behavior analysis is dedicated towards kids with developmental disabilities. So like kids with autism or intellectual disability or even ADHD. And so I was doing that for a while, but in the last couple of years, I went back to counseling. And so now that I'm transitioning mostly to counseling, what I'm doing is I'm taking that same approach. We call it radical behaviorism. I'm taking radical behaviorism, but applying it to counseling. So I do a lot of environmental manipulations. Like if I have clients that are struggling to stop drinking, or they want to change their eating habits, or they have anxiety or panic disorder, or ADHD is a big one. I have a lot of clients with ADHD. We help them. Oh, I say we, but it's just me. I help them change the environment and make it so that the environment is conducive for their success. And I do all of that while keeping them off medication, because I'm a holistic like practitioner, which means that ultimately I want all of my clients to be able to live happy, successful lives without any medication necessary.
mm-hmm. My next question that I have for you is t tell me a little bit about the impact that your work has on the greater community. In other words, like, what have you learned in doing this? That kind of thing. Yeah.
That's a good question. What does it have on the greater community? Well, I think we're in a weird kind of time, and we are kind of weird as a society in the sense that a lot of people, medication has become normalized, that people don't want to necessarily put in the time and effort to change the things they need to change. It's not, this is American society. We want immediate gratification. We have a problem, give me an answer, give me a solution, or we want something tangible. So I think that has led to an overuse of medication, because people think, well, I have this problem, let me take this medicine. But what I've learned with my clients is there are a lot of people out there who don't want that approach, who say to themselves, no, there's got to be a natural way to do this. And I want to figure it out on my own without becoming reliant upon this. And so in working with these people, I think that gives them a lot of hope. Like, hey, guess what? Like, you can be okay without meds. We can figure this all out and you don't have to take this. And so I feel like there's a growing section of the population that is becoming more and more, what's the word I'm looking for? Disenchanted with the medical industry or with the pharmaceutical industry, and they want to find these other avenues.
Yeah, like they don't believe it or they don't trust it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, they don't trust it anymore. And they're like, I don't want to take these medicines. I don't want to do this. Let me figure out how to control this myself. And I'm going to tell you, with ADHD, I have a lot of success with my clients, like clients that have maybe been on Adderall for years, which is very hard to come off of, by the way. It's incredibly addicting, but they finally get them off and I teach them some strategies and they're like, oh my gosh, I can actually do this. I can do this by myself.
Mm-hmm. So when people come to your to see you and talk about their problems, what are some of the common themes that you notice when you talk to these people?
That's a good question too. I think there's a common theme that a lot of people, um, we tend to, well, a lot of people come in saying they want to address their anxiety. And then what that ends up looking like is that they actually have anxiety about anxiety. And they're so fearful and worried and preoccupied with this anxiety monster that they've created in their head, they're not actually living their life. And so that's one theme I've noticed. And how I counter that is by trying to teach people, like, look, you will never get rid of anxiety. It's like it's always going to be there, but we have to learn to live with it instead of fighting against it or spending all of our mental energy worrying about it. So I think a big theme is that maybe people in some way have been conditioned to think that anxiety is something you can get rid of or that it's something that is abnormal, and in reality it's neither of those things.
Mm-hmm. All right. So my last question is, what can people take away from this conversation? How can like other people like find, different ways of um dealing with whatever issues they have? Because like you said earlier, sometimes they don't trust medication or they think it's their only avenue when in fact it isn't. So what's sort of your take on that response to that?
Why, what can they take away from this? I think that they can take away well, let me tell my belief system. My belief is that we can solve pretty much every single problem in a natural way. And so if they are of the same school of thought, I would say, do some research, look into some journals of naturopathic medicine, because there are certain supplements you could take, or speak to an osteopath or a naturopath doctor who could potentially look at that. I would say simple things like regulating your sleep, making sure you get exercise. Those are the two most basic primary functions. If you're not sleeping good, then your mental health is going to suffer. Your cognitive functioning is going to suffer. Even your weight suffers if you're not sleeping good. So sleeping, exercise, and eating, if you're not sure where to start with anything, no matter if it's depression or ADHD or if it's substances, no matter what it is, start with those three things. If you can get those three things in check, you have a much better chance for success.
Mm-hmm. All righty.